First of all, thank you guys. What I'm going to talk about today is actually a little prolongation of what I talked about yesterday. Yesterday was about integration strategy, and today is about how to implement that on different tools. First, very shortly about myself. I've been working with integrations for 24 years, have been extremely hands-on for many, many years, and then as technology evolved and I didn't, I started to use my talents on other stuff like advisory and architecture and strategies, and been involved in many, surprisingly many platform selections. And that is a huge ordeal to figure out which platforms do we need to support our strategy. How many, just a show of hands, how many of you guys have been involved in choosing platforms to support what it is that you're doing? 3? All right, a couple. All right, so good on you guys who haven't, because it is a very tedious work. The only thing that's worse about doing the material you send out to vendors is actually being on the vendor side, trying to fill in the questionnaires that is to be answered. That's a horrible work. So, Redpill Linpro, if you haven't heard about us, we've been existing for a long time. Started out in Sweden and then moved into Norway and into Denmark, and I'm from the Danish brand. We have a long history in open source, but I'm moving with caution into something like Azure and SAP and MuleSoft, stuff like that. That isn't exactly open source, but it's very close to our hearts. It's a very techy company. I think I'm the least technical guy at all in that place, and I know a few programming languages. We have a lot of full beards and heavy metal t-shirts. That's usually a sign of people knowing what they're doing. So, and I really like that. All right, so I'll just skip through a lot of these. We have a lot of methods in order to work with different types of aspects of integration. And I could be talking about API readiness, for instance, or the digital integration hub, which in my mind is the best architecture out there to achieve real API acumen. But yesterday I talked about integration strategy, and today we're going to link that together with the platform selection. So now you have a strategy. How do you support that? This is how a strategy looks. It looked a little different yesterday. It was the same strategy, but we upgraded the slides to the new look and feel. But anyway, there are some steps you go through when you make a platform selection. You start out by exploring, and that is really tedious, because one thing I've learned is that, surprisingly enough, there are a lot of feelings involved in platform selection. There's a lot of people with a lot of ideas about what they want, what they especially don't want, and how it could help them or their department if the right tooling or languages were selected. So you need to be very mindful of that. And then I'll go through the different steps. What I like to do is to make things a bit graphical and mathematical, because, as I say, there are so many feelings in this. So if you can plot up any tool that you are evaluating in sort of a spider web with the different groups up here, it's less, there's less stuff to argue about, because the graphs don't lie if you do it right. So if you look into the exploration phase, there's a lot of different stuff that you need to take care of. And hopefully you get access to the CIO, CFO, the guy paying the bills, because he usually has a lot of power. So why is it that we want to spend money on this? What is it that we're trying to achieve from a business point of view? A lot of us techies, we know exactly what we want to achieve. We want to achieve a GraphQL that's just beating everything else and super duper technical stuff, but in the end there's some business requirements that need to be fulfilled. So looking into that from a strategic point of view is a very good place to start, because then you will actually also probably be allowed to go a little over budget when it comes to implementing it, if there is a business reason to do so. Then you have some technical business requirements. If you know that you are implementing a new transportation management system, a new APIs for your mobile development, or whatever it is that you're looking into, try to take that into account as well, because that will give you more organizational backing. All right. Then comes the difficult part, because you need to be as little technical as possible in the beginning, to get all these fluffy things in place, and then after that start to map that into different categories, because you need somehow to compare these different products that you're seeing. So you need to categorize, okay, what is under strategic requirements, business requirements, UX requirements, like, do we want low code? I used to love low code. I really resent it these days. I've learned so much about the promise of just drag and drop and everything will just work for you. It's a lie. It doesn't work like that. So all those things you need to put into your mapping of the different technologies. Then you translate that into a landscape. All right, how do you match this new product into what you already have? Because you rarely start out on a blank canvas. You buy a new product to fit in somewhere. Gartner has this notion of the hybrid integration platform that came after the ESBs because the enterprise service bus couldn't handle everything, so we needed to add on new stuff, like for instance API management. That's where we got the hybrid integration platform. And how do you match what you're buying now into what you already have? Not only technical, but also from a skill set point of view. Can we reuse some of the competencies and the DevOps and all that stuff we already have? Can we reuse that? And then you need to compare where we are today and where are we going with our different new products that we need to implement. All right, so that's where we are with that. And then you need to implement it. And here, the actual component introduction is extremely important because you need to do change management. And it's so strange because you have all these technical people, but we know what we want. We know why we want it. But again, we're trying to solve someone's problems. So coming in and say, yeah, we know it was horrible to get APIs delivered. We know the performance was bad. We know all that stuff. But now we are trying to do something new to help you. It's going to cost some time, and it's going to be worse before it gets better. All those discussions, you need to have them in order to get success. Then you need to train, governance, all that stuff, get that in place. So what we usually end up with is something like that. And then we have the MuleSoft platform, the Azure platform, and any other platform. It looks like this. And the thing about this is it's a process that takes so much time. It's really, really tedious. And we've had a lot of happy customers going through this process. But is there another way? Because my learning was that after doing 10, 15, 20 of these, people were evaluating on the exact same points again and again. So there might be a list of 300 different evaluation points that you always come to. But I cannot just come with those and say, okay, this is what you want to evaluate on, because we have to do the organizational stuff. But one thing we actually did in order to speed this process up quite a bit was that we used something. In the beginning, I thought it was cheating. So we were feeding the ChatGPT with all the questions of what it is that we were evaluating on, and said, okay, you read everything, and it really has, and all the blogs and the commercial stuff and everything. How would you rate these platforms that we are evaluating? And it came up with a lot of different scores and also descriptions of why it rated Boomi like this and MuleSoft like that and all that stuff. And it was, to be honest, surprisingly precise, because what we did also was obviously we brought in an expert to say, okay, is this right or is it just hallucinating? And obviously there were a few tweaks, but very, very few. The GPT actually knows the products quite well, especially from the forums and message boards with all the problems, because when you have the when you make these, you send all your questions out to the platform vendors, and they answer like they do, and they never say no, even though we know the platform cannot solve it. They say yes if, and then a very long story about how they can make their platform solve it. Apigee, the one that Google bought, for instance, said, oh yeah, we have a great low-code mapper in our API management platform. Everybody knows that's not true, and you don't want that in your Apigee platform. But they said yes, if, and then something with MapForce and stuff like that. So you really need to be mindful of what the platform vendors are saying. But back to this, actually has given us a very precise tool. And I'm not going to show it. The tool is something as unsexy as a spreadsheet. I'm sorry, guys. We could probably do a nice GUI on it. But in here we have all the different categories that are marked on the spider webs, and the different platforms. And then you can open them up and see the scorings. There are hundreds and hundreds of different scores you can go into. So the tool is basically an accelerated way to get an insight into the platform landscape that you could have. And the delivery is a whole bunch of evaluation points, as well as a lot of what do you call it, the things that you ask at GPT. Prompt, thank you very much, blacked out. So a lot of prompts and a lot of scoring capabilities. So you can actually use this for a lot of tools that we haven't evaluated yet. For instance, this Apollo thing. It's going to be exciting to try to evaluate that. We'll probably wait a few months until there has been some people having issues with it, writing about that on the forums, but it's a really, really good way to work with that. Now, as it was said, I really have to run to catch an airplane, but if you have any questions, want to talk more, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Mikkel, M-I-K-K-E-L, Iversen. At LinkedIn. Then you'll find me. We are not that many Mikkels out there, and I'll be very happy to talk more. And I think I have 2 minutes if there is any questions at all. Is there one down there? No, it was a fix of the glasses. Okay, fair enough. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our tool and have a very good rest of session. All right.